Magic Mike Show, where you hear the experts speak. The Magic Mike Show. Tune into the show every week. The Magic Mike Show. You can trust the show is the bomb because it's being brought to you by RacingDudes.com.
What's up, everybody? I'm Magic.
And I'm Mike.
And this is the Magic Mike Show, episode 406, Mr. Somich.
Huzzah!
We're coming at you with a little special show. Well, not special because it's Monday. We're always here Mondays at 5 Eastern, and thank you for joining us. But we're going to be doing a little special preview of tomorrow's card at Kentucky Downs, which is yesterday's card, moved to tomorrow. Yeah. How'd that happen?
Well, we had a little bit of inclement weather that went down after the second race, and they had an 11-race card. So they said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to run the next 9 of them on Tuesday and have another race day. So that's exactly what they did. So this is the 3rd through the 11th from Sunday's card has now become the 1st through the 9th of Tuesday's card. It's actually, I don't blame them. Like, they only have a limited number of race days. I thought this was a good way to get around it. I'm not sure how you got it through the gaming board from the Kentucky perspective that quickly, but hey, more power to you, Kentucky Downs. Let's get it going.
Listen, the state of Kentucky is all about the thoroughbred racing industry and doing what they can to keep it going. That's why that happened. I don't understand it, but it gives us something to talk about because the Bob Baffert 2-year-old yesterday, Cave Rock, oh, man. Oh, boy.
Pretty good. I mean, you had 2 Bafferts this weekend that were really the talk in California. Speedboat Sammy, I think it is.
Speedboat Beach.
Speedboat Beach. There we go. $200,000 Byron who sets a track record for any horse ever running there, going 5.5 furlongs at 2. And then obviously
debuting it too. Thank you.
And then obviously Cave Rock who comes back and just looks sensational the next day. I had a couple of people say like, I didn't think that was that good. He went 43 and change, didn't switch leads, and then finally did and just opened up in the stretch. I mean, there's a ton of talent there. It'll be interesting. Like the 2 turns, obviously, is when people are really going to start caring about these horses. Interesting how they stretch out and how they rate back that speed. You got to go 46 if you want to go a half mile, not 43, and figuring out how to kind of control them there will be interesting.
You brought up a great point that Cave Rock just really accelerated as soon as he decided to go, which I think we're going to change his leads, like you mentioned. It was so great, and how he accelerated. It was just like, oh, okay, go. This is kind of how it looked, and it was like, shit, how it. So I posted the reaction up to watching the replay. I knew he won, but I watched the replay for the first time today and reacted to it. And that was really impressive. One other horse out of there to watch moving forward, probably when they turn 3 for the Derby Trail. The 3rd place horse, Skinner, for John Sheriff's horse broke poorly, was last of 8. And then rallied to get up for 3rd. Now, he was a beaten 3rd. It was a pretty distant 3rd, but it was a very impressive 3rd, considering it was a 2nd start and he's still a maiden. So I thought that was a good effort. He's a son of Curlin out of Malibu Moon Mare. That horse needs 2 turns. So like Sham Stakes, Robert B. Lewis Stakes, look for Skinner to make some noise down there. But we got some noise to make Tuesday, September 13th at Kentucky Downs. You ready to do this, buddy?
Let's roll, baby.
Ride is up. And remember, if you want to bet Kentucky Downs and you haven't yet signed up with BetPTC.com, it's the Racing Dudes ADW of choice. If you sign up using our promo code, which is DUDES, DUDES, you get a $200 new member bonus once you bet $750. Visit BetPTC.com, promo code DUDES. Mike, first leg of the Late Pick 4 at Kentucky Downs. Tuesday, September 13th, race 6. This is the untappable stakes for 8 2-year-old fillies going 6.5 furlongs. You went 2 deep, I went 4 deep, and you're using both of mine. So which one would you like to talk about first?
Well, before we jump into it, let's talk about Kentucky Downs last week a little bit first. Sure. And specifically the track trend that we saw. And now, obviously, they got a bunch of rain on Sunday, so things could be a little different here. But if you were going 6 or 6.5, you had to be on or close to the lead. You saw some horses take huge step forwards. One timer jumps to mind that are kind of unexpected going gate to wire. So you had to be close or on the lead going 6 or 6.5 at Kentucky Downs last week. That definitely changed how I picked some of these races and kind of gravitated me towards some horses. Going 1 mile, you could close a little bit, but you couldn't come from the back. Going 2 turns, it seemed pretty fair. So just a quick kind of overview on how the track was playing there, because there were some odd results in the sprints, specifically because if you were not within a length or length and a half, it was over. And that's why, I don't know if you have the notes in front of you, but the ride Rosario gave the Big Invasion, and the owner's comments afterward were absolutely scathing about Rosario's choice not to have that horse closer. That's why. Everyone could tell if you were watching those races, you had no shot if you were sprinting and you were not really close to the lead. And it was tough for Big Invasion, who ran on for a good third, I thought, all things considered, just had no chance to actually win the race.
Bree says also a horse is not ridden by Rosario. Rosario's on a couple of horses that I'm using, and including one here that you're not. And I think if you ever wanted to use the don't use it because Rosario's on argument, I might actually give it to you here for this horse. But anyways, thanks for breaking that down. Where are you going to go on top for this race here?
I got one more just off topic.
Oh, yeah.
I'm telling you, so Shoddy calling me out saying I look like I could be hitting up a golf or tennis, a frisbee golf course right after the show. Dennis calling me out for my tennis looks here. Yeah, look, I'm gonna just be honest. I'm gonna cut deep here. I wasn't ready for football and horse racing in one weekend. I was not prepared for the gravity of sports watching and television watching I experienced over the weekend. I am exhausted right now. And so this is what you end up with here. I did get a bike ride in. I showered early, but we're not gelling the hair. We're not putting the polo on. We're just going at it, and we're breaking down some Kentucky Down races.
If you saw me during our staff meeting this morning, I look incredible compared to that.
Yeah, it's true. I look the same. So that tells you the difference there. And I'm excited about tonight's game too. So it'll be another late night, and just it is what it is, man. But next week we'll be ready to roll. Now I can feel my energy getting up here too. I'm excited now. I'm getting it going. All right, let's start out with Half a Chance here. I just mentioned how the speed was holding well. Half a Chance debuts on turf, runs well, comes back at Saratoga, beats Chocolate Gelato, who was a monster coming back, and runs exceptionally well, especially considering how that Saratoga track was playing at that time. I thought that was a really, really good effort. I feel like having the one post here means you have to send. I just mentioned how you want to be on or close to the lead. That's exactly what Half a Chance is going to be. Wesley Ward has had a great meet so far here at Kentucky Downs. Jose Ortiz is one of those jockeys I really trust. I think Half a Chance gets the lead and is very, very tough up front.
No argument there. Dam was also a 3-time Female of the Year for Illinois breds. This horse, when she debuted, CJ Johnson owns it with his dad, Corey John. They owned Kentucky Downs way back in the day. But CJ has been very vocal on Twitter about her. He's loved her ever since they got her to Wesley Ward. So they're very, very big on her chances. At one point, they thought maybe Ascot, but I think she had a slight hiccup when she was being developed. But that's how much they love this horse. So I'm with you on her. I'll stay with you. Your other horse that we both used is the 8 Alluring Angel. And this is a horse that I'd heard about going into her debut, which is a pretty impressive one. What did you think about her here?
Yeah, the debut is really what stood out. Private Credit runs third in that race, comes back to win. Alluring Angel didn't break that well. And this was when Jorge Abreu wasn't exactly on fire. This might have even been his first winner at Saratoga. Got him off the schneid, I believe. And this horse looked very professional in that first start. And again, it was kind of against the track bias. You weren't closing like a rocket going turf sprinting at Saratoga specifically for 2-year-olds. And this horse was able to come from off the pace and be impressive. I'm hoping we see a little bit more pace, and that's going to be the key here. I'm hoping we see a little bit more pace tomorrow because I don't want to be 6-7 lengths off this lead, especially with the way this track was playing. But it seems like there's just a boatload of talent here. Abreu often gets better second race out, so I expect a pretty decent-sized step forward here. And I found 2 of these races really difficult in this sequence, and I'm spreading like freaking peanut butter on a piece of toast in those. So I'm going to go pretty short here and just go with a 1-8.
That's an odd metaphor from someone who's allergic to nuts.
That's true. Not all nuts, only tree nuts.
Oh, I guess I wouldn't know that. I don't need to know the difference, so I wouldn't know. But you made all great points. I'm not gonna, like I said, I use the 8 as well. A horse that I went 1, 2, 8, 4 here. I'll talk about the 2-horse Dance Macabre. And I understand if you're spreading later, Mike, then you definitely don't want to use this because she's 3-1. Half a Chance is 7-2. Alluring Angels 5-1. So I get if you don't want to be eating a little bit of chalk here, but I thought this horse was great in that turf debut, turf sprinting at Colonial Downs. Kelsey Danner is going to appear a lot, and actually I think she's in all 4 of these races in the sequence here. But she's going to appear on my ticket a lot because she's 2 for 3 at the meet, bringing horses from Colonial Downs. This was where this one debuted. Rocco was aboard. They thought so highly of her. They went to Saratoga, a very nice second in the Bolton Landing Stakes. Not an easy field to be facing there, especially from Colonial. And now we show up here. Army Mule is the sire. The first crop He's a first crop starter. They're winning it at 25% rate, over 57% finishing in the money. He's had over 60 starters so far. I had no idea Army Mule was that good as a sire because he's not really out in California, but he's doing pretty good. I think I might like this horse slightly better if Joe Rocco was aboard because Joe Rocco is having a much better meet at Kentucky Downs than Adam Beschizza is. But Kelsey Danner's up for 2 wins this meet. One was Beschizza, one was Joe Rocco. So she uses them very equally. And, I'm going to use this horse here. A reason other than the price why you didn't use the 2?
It doesn't feel like a turf pedigree to me. That was one of the big reasons. And I realize we have a good turf race, 2 really good turf races actually on the board there. But Army Mule, as you mentioned, great percentage, but 15 of his 16 wins have come on the dirt. And Blame on the bottom side. We've talked about Blame quite a bit on turf, not all that wonderful. So I'm a little concerned. It's just a couple low, but honestly, you'd hit the nail on the head. I don't want to. I could have gone 1, 2, 4, 8 here, but then I'm playing for the 4 of the top 5 choices, and I'm going to spread in other legs, and I don't really want to single the 8 in the third leg. We'll get there in a second. So all of a sudden, if I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to play the 4 favorites, and I'm going to single the chalk, that's not a good ticket. So I'm going to go shorter here so I can spread a little bit more in other places and take a shot against the 8 in the feature.
Yeah, I didn't take a single in that. I didn't single up the singling any horse at Kentucky Downs. It just doesn't sound like a fun experience. Even if it's like a Wesley Ward. I mean, Campanelli, you could have singled her, and that was close until the end there. Last horse on for me is the 4. Do you want to try and say her name? The 4?
Rencito Rampier.
That's beautiful. I love that. That's a gorgeous name. A really nice win. On paper, wins by 7 lengths at Monmouth Park. Arna Delacour last year in 2021 debuts a horse at Monmouth Park, a filly, wins by open lengths like that, brings her to Kentucky Downs for this race. You and I are both tongue-tied today. For this specific race, Joel Rosario rides her after Diaz was aboard for the debut, and Koala Princess wins this race and is back in the next race we're going to talk about. Rosario is aboard for this horse. Now, here's the problem. If you watch this race, this horse never once settled. She was pulling, and eventually Diaz just was like, let her go, and off she went. What is Joel Rosario going to do if a horse does that? How does he react? Because this horse, I think, has got a ton of talent, but she's a little screwy in the head, needs to learn how to settle. Do we think Rosario is going to teach her that while she wins in this race? It's a dicey proposition.
He likes to choke horses out when they do that. Like he's willing to fight them, and that's just not generally the best thing to see. Yeah, Again, I mean, this is another one I considered. This is literally the horses you used are my third and fourth horses. The ticket wise didn't allow me to fit on here, and I'm very the problem with Rosario, and not to harp on Rosario here, he could be the best jockey at Kentucky Downs tomorrow. That's the tough part about it. Is that he was literally the worst jockey at a major racetrack I think I have seen on Saturday at Kentucky Downs. That was that bad of a day. And then you fast forward, and he could be the best jockey at the track on Tuesday. You have that inconsistency from him. That's what frustrates me. I'm not sure what he would do with this horse. I mean, I would consider it an upgrade that he's on the horse because his top end ride is better than most. But you're right. The horse needs to be much more mature this time out, especially with Rosario aboard if you want to get the job done.
The other horse that was a short price neither of us used is the 3 Bling, and I thought it would at least be bringing up why we didn't like her here. She's 4-1, and Vicky Oliver, Bejarano usually find a way to get at least one horse home at a nice price, but I think they already did that on Saturday. They had their winner at 12-1. 3 horses from her maiden win have already run back, 2 of them at Kentucky Downs. Neither of them were close to hitting the board. The other one was third, but a pretty distant third, and that was Indiana Grand, or whatever the hell it's called, a maiden special weight. So I think that her price here is way too short considering what she was facing or what she beat last out.
Yeah, I mean, I doubt she's the 4th choice. I bet she's the 5th choice when they actually break. I didn't have much interest here. I didn't think that last one was as impressive as it looks on paper when you watch it back on a replay. And like you said, the race hasn't come back well. So I didn't really consider using Bling.
I'm just going to leave Shadi's comment here for everybody to read. If you're listening to the podcast, this is why you should go ahead and watch the YouTube show sometimes. We get some funny stuff. The next leg of the late pick 4 at Kentucky Downs on Tuesday, September 13th. Race 7 is the Music City Stakes. 12 3-year-old fillies plus 3 also eligible, going 6.5 furlongs. And like I just talked about, last year's winner of the previous race we just talked about, Koala Princess, she's back, number 4 horse, 3-1. She's second off the bench after finishing third in the Lake George Stakes at Saratoga. Did she make your ticket?
She did make the ticket. Not the top pick, but I do respect her quite a bit here. Again, positioning is a big concern with Koala Princess. It's why Koala Princess wasn't higher up in my order here, because she's going to be off the pace, and we're going 6.5 furlongs. And Joelle's riding, and we saw what Joelle did off the pace, going 6.5 furlongs. It wasn't pretty. And then this horse just doesn't have much turn of foot early, so you can't even really blame Joelle. But this horse is also going to gate to wire first time out at Monmouth, going 5.5. So maybe he can get her a little more forwardly placed than she has been. But yeah, the mile effort going 24 seconds and missing to a very good field. I mean, Dolce Zell and Eminent Victor, very good horses at Saratoga. So it's not like she's taking a step up in class here. She's probably taking a step down a little bit. But the positioning of where she will be is my biggest concern here for Koala Princess. I put the 3 Poppy Flower on top in this spot. Has a little more tactical speed. Has been coming out of 5.5 turf sprints. I was really impressed with Empress Tigress and Poppy Flower at Saratoga those last 2 races. I thought the Galway was a really good effort here from Poppy Flower, taking a step forward. And since this horse got back to turf sprinting here, if you could draw a line through that first effort in the 3-year-old season where the race gets rained off the turf, the next 3 are absolutely phenomenal. It was 10-1, but kind of validated that effort, that win at Laurel with the first effort in the Coronation Cup at Saratoga, and then took another step forward. So I'm going to put the 3 Poppy Flower on top. It'll be interesting to see what price we get. I think 4-1 is pretty fair.
My top 2 picks, reverse order, but it's like 1 and 1A. By the way, how rude is that the 3 Poppy Flowers 4-1 and the 4 Koala Princess is 3-1? It was very tricky writing this out. I kept screwing up the numbers, but at least I'm using both of them, right? So
at least once a week, I put the horse's number as the first number of their odds when I'm making picks. I got to go back and figure out what the hell I was doing.
Oh, yeah, all the time. So I went 3 deep here, and just kind of like last time, you went a little deeper, but we're pretty much covered in the same one. And the third horse for me is a long shot. So let's talk about the 11, Majestic Doro at 15-1. Tyler Gaffleone having another great meet, 9 for 47. If you take out the 7 times that he rode for Brendan Walsh that all didn't win, he's 0 for 7 riding for Walsh at this year's meet. He's 9 for 40. That's 23%. That's a much better than 19%. That's pretty great. Brendan Walsh, you see there, he's 1 for 14, but he's got 5 seconds. You know who's aboard for 4 of those seconds? Tyler Gaffleone. They're like right there. They need a little bit more racing luck. That's something, Mike, that you taught me, is like sometimes that barn needs that racing luck when it's better than this. Walsh is a much better trainer than this usually. She had that really nice win in the turf sprint at Woodbine, going 6.5 furlongs, 2 back in the Alley Wow. The only other time she's tried this 6.5 furlong distance, it was a synthetic sprint at Turfway Park that she won very easily. The concern for me is, do we know what her ceiling is? Like, is 80, 81 the best that she's going to possibly get buyer-wise out of this? But we're getting 15-1. It is a new track and a new setup. So a sudden spike in the buyer here wouldn't be that shocking to me.
Yeah, and that's kind of what you're counting on here. If you like this horse, she's going to be forwardly placed. This is only her 3rd turf sprint. I mean, to me, that's only her 3rd time on turf. So you can make an argument she does have some upside from that perspective. Successful at 6.5 furlongs at Woodbine, and only missed a Twilight Gleaming by a length. That to me, the race, the first time on turf, or first time turf sprinting, she missed a Twilight Gleaming by a length, and then comes back and wins the stakes next time. 15-1, I think, is a very fair price. You mentioned Gaffleone; he's been absolutely on fire, and you nailed it on Walsh. I mean, when you look at a trainer and their meet stats, if they are piling up seconds but don't have the wins, a lot of that's racing luck. It's not like you're losing these, like especially at Kentucky Downs. It's hard enough to hit the board at Kentucky Downs because there's so many damn horses in these fields. So I think that the Walsh barn's been pretty solid. Gaffleone been on fire. Forwardly placed horse that has a ton of upside. I like to use the 11 here.
A horse that I didn't use, but is I don't know if it's the 4th or 5th one on your ticket, but just to her outside is the 12 Happy Soul. It's Wesley Ward in a turf sprint at Kentucky Downs. It's like, man, he's 5 for 21. He's 9 for 21 hitting the board right now. Irad's hopping board. It's first time turf. And I was like, how's Run Happy been as a turf sire? He's 2 for 54 turf sprinting. That's 3%. So he's not great. And he's 0 for 15 on wet turf. So if there's any kind of moisture at all, not great there. But tell me why you're using the 12 in the spot.
Speed. I mentioned at the top of the show here, I want the leader. This is, I think, your leader. I think Happy Soul ends up getting the lead from the 12 post. I think Irad sends here. And a lot of times, and this is Wesley Ward's game is not dirt, right? He is much better turf, specifically turf sprinting. They thought this horse had so much talent that they sent it through the Grade 1 Ashland. We faced off against Nest there. We were in the Victory Ride last time out facing Hot Peppers, and half is enough. They thought very, very, very highly of this horse, dropping out of straight back-to-back graded stakes races. Yeah, the turf thing is a scary part here, right? Definitely not bred for the turf, but the fact that we're showing up here and taking this shot tells me that they believe Happy Soul can at least handle it a little bit and should be in the lead or forwardly placed. I'll take Irad and Wesley at 15-1 in a turf sprint where the horse is probably the fastest out of the gate.
She's got one older sibling of all her siblings that raced. One of them did make on turf and actually was 3 for 5, but really one of them had a bad trip. So really 3 for 4 on turf in her long career. So there is, the run happy angle is maybe not the best, but also he's not 0 for 200. It could be a little worse. Could be, was it Practical Joke? I think in turf routes might be worse than that. But yeah, listen, if it's speed plus Wesley Ward, knowing what he's doing at Kentucky Downs is probably going to trump any run happy sire stats there. Who was the last one on your ticket, bud?
Last one for me was the 6 Au revoir.
Ouvre. I know this one. It's Ouvre. Yep.
And I mean, simply because since we got into the course block barn and got back to the turf, this horse took 2 giant steps forward, right? I mean, really nice effort there, 2 back at Hawthorne, and able to come from off the pace there, which I'm not sure if Ouvra will be the fastest horse in this spot, but then goes to Colonial, but goes back against the fillies and goes gate to wire, getting a nice 89 buyer in that spot. Horse is 2 for 2 turf sprinting since we turned 3, since we were in the Chris Block barn. Actually didn't turf sprint prior to that, did a routed prior to that, but the distance is not as big of a concern because we do have that one race at a mile over the turf for me. I feel like this one, again, forwardly placed. You're getting a good price. I trust Loveberry to send this horse. And you also you have seen this horse be able to stalk and win. So if Ouvre ends up in third, she could still get up and get by here. So again, I like the 12-1 price. I think it's a nice race to take a shot at. Koala Princess, who I respect, is the favorite. It's going to be coming from far back. So I'm going to end up with 3, 4, 6, 11, 12 here and see if we can get a number home.
Can I tell you what I respect is how you structured your betting for this race, your 5 horses. You took the 2 best horses in the race, which are the 3 and the 4, but they also are come from behind horses, and you're sticking to your convictions that you need to be forwardly placed in these sprints. And so you went with 3 forwardly placed horses that you're all getting double-digit prices on. You just need one of those to just get brave or get loose up there and take it. I think the 6 is pretty sneaky if, hasn't faced horses of this caliber, but that doesn't mean anything. Kentucky Downs, like all that stuff about class, you just piss it out the window. It doesn't mean anything here.
Chris Block has 3 starters so far at the meet. 2 of the 3 have hit the board, so he's sending horses that have fit the places that they've ran. And so again, he's 0 for at the meet, but it's 0 for 3, and he got 2 hitting the board in these big fields. They're running, so you're getting a good price on a horse that I expected to put forth a solid effort.
Go back to the chat here. Charles says he likes Poppy Flower in the post. Dennis says he likes the 8 getting back to turf. That's Bubble Rock. And this is a horse that I actually initially thought I would use. But between the 5-1 price and just how bad Cox and Drew are doing right now, it's not a horse that I use, but she did have that great start to her career on turf. Scratch off the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Phillies turf. It didn't work for her. And it's like they tried backdooring their way into the Kentucky Oaks, and that didn't work. So now she's here, but I'm worried that she might be short with a cold barn. If Cox was hot, you might want to use her, but Cox is stone cold and she's coming off a long layoff.
Yeah, and who you like? If I'm spreading here, who am I taking off my ticket to use the 8? That for me is the thing. It's like I'm not so Bubble Rock's 5-1 and going to get bet. You're not going to get a great price here, and I think fair odds would be closer to 15-1 on Bubble Rock in this spot, and that's why I can't find a way to put this horse on the ticket because I'm not taking the 3 or the 4 off. I don't really want to take off the 6, 11, or 12, and I don't really feel like going 6 deep here unless I want to go 4 deep in the last. But maybe that's what ends up happening. But for me, Bubble Rock is just too short of a price based on what we've seen with too many question marks, really, because you're off the layoff. We're going back to turf sprinting. We don't know if she's fully cranked up for this. I mean, I assume she is, but you don't know if she needs this race to get the 6.5. Giroux's been god awful, right? Like there's too much here where I can't take that price.
Sean says using 4-10-1, and then I also saw Dennis said he looked at the 1. Have a good day. The 1 and the 10 are the 2 Euros in this race. The 10 is a European bred shipping from California. Last time we passed on that brand kind of bit us in the ass, but I'm not worried about Glen all this time.
Yeah, it's interesting. Brand, the only European bred horse in that turf sprint, ends up winning. We talked about it right after we went off the air doing the reaction for that one. I'm more interested in the 1 than I am the 10. but I am not essentially all that interested in the one, specifically because I like the horse got a pretty good trip last time and just got roasted by Poppy Flower. And so you'd need to take a pretty decent step forward second off, which is totally possible. I mean, the second off a long layoff, second time in the U.S. I mean, I could see the one taking a step forward, but I feel like Poppy Flower has the one covered.
Was a 3-time winner overseas in actually France. Is Irish bred, but was running in France at some spots. My very basic knowledge of the French circuit, a couple of those races on a lesser circuits there, but we'll see what happens. If you like her, go ahead and use her. We'll move on. The feature race from Sunday that's now on Tuesday is race 8. It's the penultimate leg of the late pick 4 sequence, and it is the rescheduled grade 3 ladies marathon stakes. Field of 9 older fillies and mares going 1 mile and 5/16, so pretty much one complete lap around the track. Defending champion Family Way, that's the 8-horse Mike was talking about earlier, why he's not singling her. She's 3-2, defending champ, but man, 3-2 singling in a race like this. I don't know. Does she do it?
Well, before she does or she doesn't, I want to bring up this comment from Trish because I love it. She says, "I love Kentucky Downs so much and I don't understand the hate it gets by handicappers saying it's impossible when everyone complains about chalk and small field." Amen. And the funny thing is, if you don't like Kentucky Downs, just don't play it. Just go play your chalk and small fields at other places. There's a plenty of tracks that are running that are getting 6 to 8 horses. If either this is your jam or it's not. And you have to understand the variance is higher at Kentucky Downs. That's what pisses people off. Is that it's harder to hit tickets, but when you hit, they pay a ton. It's a 7-day meet. If you hit one pick 5, you're up. It's that simple. And if you don't hit one, then you come back next year and you hope you have a good meet. These pick 5s are paying $5,000, $10,000, $23,000. They're paying stacks, and that frustrates people who want to cash a ticket every day. Whereas it actually is a great opportunity if you're properly betting those races. And so for me, I like Kentucky Downs in that aspect. It's a little bit of a funky course, and that can create some odd results. But that is also why it can pay so much. You know what I mean? So anyway, I have Family Way on top. I believe she's the best horse in this race, but she's carrying 126. For me, the way she loses is someone takes her gate to wire, and that's the one adventuring. Sitting 4-1 on the board, clearly your lone speed in this spot. Horse that has the ability here to take a pretty big step forward because we're going to be second off the layoff, second out as a 4-year-old. You know, that's one of the things that I love. First race, you just draw a line through that Mountaineer race, right? And the fact that they're actually coming here after that race tells me that this horse is ready to roll even more. But the race gets drawn off, taken off of the turf, ends up winning, but gets a pretty low buyer for it. The buyer is what's going to stop people from betting this horse. That's foolish. It's a non-turf race. The fact that the horse won, I think, says something. I'm trusting Rosario to go to the front, but there's literally no other speed in here. Nothing. So I'm hoping that the one can get out and take this field gate to wire. If adventuring can't, I think Family Way is the most logical horse to get the job done.
She also won the Dueling Grounds Oaks over this very course and distance last year. Gate to wire with Joel Rosario in the irons. I think that this is, I went the same way you did. I went 8-1. Let's talk about real quick. The number 9 Viburnum at 20-1 was originally going to be coming back into this race 10 days after breaking her or winning an allowance race over the same course and distance. So wins by a head going 1 mile and 5/16 on September 1st. When it was supposed to be on Sunday, that's 10 days back. She gets 2 extra days rest, and she's 1-2 straight. Kelsey Danner's pretty hot. I'm a little concerned about her in this spot, Mike.
Look, got beat by adventuring last year at this track and distance, right? So I feel like you have the better horse in adventuring here, but Viburnum has taken a step forward, definitely gotten better here. So maybe she can flip the tables in the 4-year-old season. I like her underneath more than I do on top. I think that core value is a little interesting underneath as well. But I think it's on top. It's Family Way, or it's someone takes this field gate to wire, and that's the one. So for me, it's one of those where I'm pretty confident playing straight trifectas or superfectas and going 8-1-9. Specifically 8-1-9 will probably be a decent sized bet for me. I'll probably have a little bit of a 1-8-9 as well. I'll probably have a 1-8-1-8 over 5-9, 5-9 super, things like that, where I'm trying to hit this pretty cold because I do think the top 2 are above the rest of the field, and that 3rd place and 4th place horse is a little more wide open.
I was thinking it was Bree too had left the comment. I think when you did the preview for this race, when it was supposed to be on Sunday, she left the comment. So glad to see you in the chat, Bree. Glad we could talk about that. Mike, we got one leg left for the late pick 4 at Kentucky Downs on Tuesday, September 13th, race 9. It's a 1 mile maiden special weight for 12 2-year-old fillies plus 4 also eligibles. 5 of these are making their debuts. Did you take any new shooters on top?
Man, this says shades of the way Belmont likes to end their card, right? Where you're just like, come on, like really?
Yep.
Like this is what we got to deal with now? You get through those 3 legs and you're like, and now let's just throw some spaghetti at the ceiling and see what happens. I did. I took the 4. Let me make sure. Yeah, I took the 4 words of praise on top. This is interesting. English Channel stands for 27.5. This horse sells for 16. Generally, I don't like those horses, but this sold the 3 diamonds. Mike Maker ends up debuting it here and gets IRAD up. That's enough for me to like the horse just in that sense. But then on top of that, the workouts have been pretty solid. You got that sneaky 47 bullet that's kind of hanging out there pretty far back. English channels generally like this course. To me, this is one where it's like, okay, I'm a little bit interested here in seeing what Words of Praise can do. And I don't feel like this is a world beater field. Like this is one of the lower level fields that I've seen as a maiden special weight at Kentucky Downs.
Dan was a 2-time winner at age 2, both times going 7 furlongs. The second time she did it was in a stakes race. Be very careful about this horse at a short price if you're playing like win bets. Mike Maker, last 5 years at Kentucky Downs debuting horses, 1 for 29.
Yeah.
It is not good, Mike.
They get hammered too. I get it. I don't think you're going to see that short of a price on this horse though, because there's enough gotchas here with this one that I think you're going to get somewhere in the 4-1, 92 type of range, and I'm fine with that on this type of horse.
Yes, I used her. I went 3. If I went 4 deep, and you and I agreed on 2. Words of Praise was my top pick as well. Let's talk about the other one we agreed on before we start disagreeing. That's the number 3, Mad Madame Mim for Saffie Joseph Jr. Started the meet. Saffie Joseph said he was bringing horses that he thought were going to be live. He wasn't wrong, Mike. He's 7 for 14 hitting the board, 3 wins, 3 seconds. This horse I think is very sneaky here, and apparently you do too because you're also using her. Number 1 fact, Mike, what did you say after Brand knocked us out of Saturday's sequence? The only European bred in the field. Guess what? She's the only European bred in the field. She's got that going for her. That's something at Kentucky Downs. This horse was forced to break from the rail for her debut. That's never an easy spot. She was slow and pinched back, and when that happens on the rail, you've got to be a world beater to overcome that. She couldn't do it. That's fine. Saffie's barn, like I said, has been live. Forget all the other stats. He's also giving you a 293 ROI when you bet him at Kentucky Downs this meet. Tyler Gaffley owns his top rider here. Look out for this horse at a price.
Yeah, and shockingly, a 5.5 synthetic race at Gulfstream seems to be a key race from hell. So Showgirl Lane B came back and won at this meet earlier this meet. So we have a return winner here at Kentucky Downs. Another horse ran acting at Kentucky Downs. Broke poorly from the 1 post and it was over. So I'm kind of throwing that one out. And you have another horse that came back to win that finished 6th, I believe it was in this race, who won over the synthetic at Gulfstream. So 2 winners back out of this race already, including the winner of that race coming back and winning here at I think it was 7-1, actually, a decent price over the Kentucky Downs turf. So the race I think is sneaky good, especially for a Gulfstream synthetic race. I don't think they get enough credit sometimes because some of those can be good and the buyer numbers can be a little lower. You think about Geist's horse Oakhurst. Buyer was really slow and she's in graded stakes after that. I mean, so you got to pay. When you see some of these races come back well, you got to start giving them a little bit more of a credit and kind of upgrade that Gulfstream synthetic form. So I think the 3 is definitely worth a play here. I'm surprised you didn't play the 12. Sabalenka, because if we don't agree, I mean, obviously this is one that you don't have on your ticket that I do have on mine. I realize that it's a trainer that is not wonderful, right? Whitworth Beckman, 0 for 3 at the meet, 2 for 38 for the year. But the fact that Jose Ortiz showed up here is what really caught my eye. Go back and watch the race. The horse broke a little bit slow and it wasn't really mentioned in there. Was immediately 10 lengths back. I think there's a little bit more speed in there. At least I'm hoping so, because you're going to need it from this 12 post. But Ortiz specifically, when he shows up on mounts like this, generally does pretty well. And from a buyer perspective, that race actually graded out as one of the better ones in this field. Actually the second best last out buyer. So of the horses that I raced, I felt like that was the most impressive race, especially considering the break.
Yeah, the Jose Ortiz factor did catch my eye. I was looking at the rest of this trainer stuff and I was like, man, I couldn't do this horse at 7-2. 7-1, you're on my ticket. At 7-2,
Do you think
Julio Downs?
What do you think?
Colonial Downs, I said, was been bringing good form from Colonial, so could use it.
What do you think race day price is here? Do you think 7-2 is the actual off price?
Shit, at Kentucky Downs, I don't know.
I was thinking you're going to get between 6 and 8 to 1. I think this horse is going to float up off that.
7-2 makes her the favorite in the morning line. I definitely don't want her if she's the favorite.
Yeah.
I'm a little worried it's an overreaction to that rally. That, if you look at the fact that she was 7th, by 10 lengths and rallies to be 2nd by 3.5, like that's impressive to look at, but it also sometimes there's an overreaction price wise. I'm worried about that here. Next up for me, I am actually going to use another Colonial Downs horse. That's going to be the 7 Psychedelic. Kelsey Danner back on my ticket. Joe Rocco has had 2 wins and 2 2/3 from 6 mounts at Kentucky Downs. Like I said, he's having a better meet than Adam Beskiza. Comes out of that same race as Sabalenka, had a really bad start. Didn't have that same flashy close because after a while the horse just kind of said, F it, I'm not going to win and just quit. If we could get a much cleaner break, I think this horse has got a big chance. I mean, this horse, we talked about Sabalenka being 10 lengths back. This horse is 12 lengths back, dead last. Passed a bunch of horses and then eventually just said, screw it. Clean break, you got the experience there, and I think better connections because of the trainer angle than the horse plus 8 to 1 over 7 to 2. I'm going to go with Psychedelic instead.
Yeah, I looked at this one. I didn't use it. That's fine.
It's Kentucky Downs. If you use them all, you're spending $6,000.
I looked at the 2, the 7, and the 8, and I didn't use any of the 3 of them. Those were like the horses that kind of got cut, that hit the cutting room floor for me. I'm going to go to the 1 horse on the rail next, Safine. Keneally brings this one in. Bejarano up, 10% first out winner, so we know that he can get it done. It's another one, Warfront, $100,000 horse, Dynaformer on the bottom side. I mean, this horse might want more distance than this mile. But look, if there's a horse that's going to be able to get it early, I feel like it's Safine here. And then you look at that workout, man. Like that 34-2 workout over Churchill last time tells me there's some speed in this horse. I think we're going to be forwardly placed in a race where I don't know where the speed's going to come from. And you want to be forwardly placed going 1 turn. Safine looks awfully interesting to me.
Safine looks like she's going to be a good pet for somebody pretty soon. She's a Warfront who sold in January for $18,000.
Yep.
Shadwell Farm looked at her after she was broken and about to go into 2-year-old training and said no and got rid of her for $18,000. I don't like that horse coming here.
The 18,000 is the tough part, right? It's especially the $100,000 stud fee, right? But the fact that we've shown speed and we are definitely bred for this type of race. I mean, I'll take a shot here and see if we can get it. It's not like Keneally's an idiot. It's not like he's bringing horses here to lose. He gets a good jockey up. I think it's the fastest horse out of the gate. I'm not sure how long we go, but I think we're going to be at front. And I want speed right now. I mentioned that at the top of the show, and this one's going to be a decent price for breaking from that rail.
Where's Nick Feldman? It's a Dynaformer mare, and we don't have Nick Feldman screaming about it in the chat. If he's not there, did it really happen? It is worth noting. Eddie Keneally, 18% on the year. If she really was an $18,000 cast off that wasn't worth anything, even 8 months later, Keneally would have debuted her at Belterra, at Mountaineer, at Ellis, like anywhere other than Kentucky Downs, where you're running for $150,000 purse. Like you would have tried to actually get a little bit of that $18,000 back. Showing
up here, just it's an interesting spot because the fact that you decide to say, "Hey, I'm going to show up and I'm going to run," kind of makes you wonder a little bit.
And the last one, I'm not going to put that on. The last one for me, the number 11. Oh, there it is. Dennis talking about it. The 11, Queen Anne's Revenge at 10 to 1. Man, Cox and Drew, like we talked about, they've had a rough meet. Drew's been bad even elsewhere. Midshipman is going to be what kind of pushes me over here. This guy's sire stats are actually super, super strong. DRF has 16 sire stats if you've ever looked at him, breaking down all different angles and distances and surfaces. Of those 16, Midshipman is above average in 15 of those. The only time he's not is when they're marathons. He's 2%. We're not in a marathon race. He is especially strong with debuting 2-year-olds, with turf sprints, with turf routes. So whatever you want to classify this race as, he should be good at it. It's Cox, it's Giroux. I've got it at 10 to 1. I'm going to take a shot on this horse debuting because Cox is usually very good in these spots, Mike.
Yeah, Giroux, I can't right now. I
get it.
After watching him at Del Mar, and I'm not as big of a Kentucky circuit guy. So my first real watch every race Giroux rides was Del Mar. And let's just say he and the Iowa offense right around the same level for me right now.
Oh.
Yeah, I went there. So I really need to be blown away in these spots. Look, Mitchump is above average in all of those, but he's like, it's like saying you got the 14th best offense in the NFL because it's not a lot above average. He's between 13 and 15% at all of those things. He's not like 22% anywhere, right? And so he's very consistent, but he doesn't have that wow factor, right? And so I for me, it's like I need to figure. Yeah, you can go through the stats. I just checked them.
Oh, I'm not actually. Sorry, go ahead.
To me, it's just there was too much against this horse. I get it if you want to use it again. These are tough races, and you got to kind of decide where you're going to pick your shots. My last shot is going to be the 6-horse Peacock Alley. Now, this horse scratched on Sunday, so I don't know if we're going to get this horse in. If we don't get it in, then I am going to flip over. I'm probably going to play your 7, I think. No, okay. Maybe the 2. One of the 2. But the 6-horse I'm interested in if this horse ends up showing up because I really like that workout 2 back, 46-4. Nyquist, not the most wonderful turf sire right now, but hopefully we'll see if that can turn around a little bit. Leparoux picks up the mount. I think this horse is going to be forwardly placed. This is one of those where I'm going to take a shot with a bigger price McPeak. He's got 2 in here. He's got the 6 and the 8. If he takes the 6 out, it kind of steps the 8 forward a little bit in my mind. But I felt like the 6 was better specifically because of that work 2 back. And I'm willing to take a shot here because, like I said, I don't see any speed or world beaters. And I feel like if you get someone up front, they can take this field gate to wire.
Not much, a ton of. Well, actually, you know what? I forgot the Eddington. The one time the Eddington, the dam sire for Peacock Alley. The one time he ran on turf, he did win. So not a ton of turf pedigree on that side, but sometimes that doesn't matter. Kentucky Downs is a pretty screwy track. Let's talk about the 8 because I saw a couple of people, including Dr. Tang and Dennis, talking about the 8 Lady Squared in the chat. For me, I don't know what this horse is. I feel like this is probably going to be better on dirt, and the fact that Kenny McPeak debuts on dirt, okay, maybe we didn't have turf racing back in June. Puts her on the turf at Ellis Park, brings her back at the Ellis Park meet a month later, not on turf, put her back on dirt. It feels to me like McPeak's just like the spaghetti thing. He's like throwing her. Where can I throw her that maybe she'll fit?
Yeah, that turf race left a lot to be desired too. No excuse. That's the thing. It's like I can't even point to it and say, well, she was in tight, or there was pace dependent and she wasn't the right part of it. No, it just sucked. Like that's all it was. It was bad. It's a bad race. And there's if first time on turf, okay. The second time, big time improvement, okay. But 8-1 is what I was like, really? Like I thought that horse should be 21. And that to me was the big kind of downer.
All right, that's going to do it for this episode of the Magic Mike Show. Thanks for joining Mike and I to talk about Tuesday, September 13th. Late pick for Kentucky Downs. Remember, there's one more day after this. Their final day is Wednesday, right? The meet ends for sure. Yeah, they're done for sure on Wednesdays.
Well, we'll see weather depending.
Well, that's true. So weather depending. This is the last time we'll cover Kentucky Downs. But did we do 3 or 4? I think this is the 4th one I can't tell.
Yeah, this is the second midweek one, so I think we've done 4.
Okay, yeah, we've done.
They give us good midweek cards. We'll do midweek pick 4s. Generally they are more to be desired.
Thank you for that correction, Dennis. It was Charles B. and Dr. Tang saying that Dennis, I don't want any part of a Kenny McPeak horse. Now, if the horse wins, Dennis is going to come back on Thursday and be like, I told you the 8-horse guys.
I think he was mentioning Family Way too. Was the 8 in the previous race as well?
No, that was he was. You're right. Yeah, he was talking about a different 8. That's why it threw me off. Did you just? There's a $2.5 million quality rolled colt that just sold.
No, I'm not paying attention to that right now.
No, I pulled up Blood Horse's stakes calendar to try and figure out for sure that Kentucky Downs was done after Wednesday, and it's all over the head. Anyways, hey, we're here to give out the tickets one last time. Sorry, down below. I will start off for 50 cents. 1, 2, 4, 8 with 3, 4, 11 with 1, 8 with 3, 4, 7, 11. That's $48.
Yeah, I'm going to play 50-cent ticket as well. I'm going 1-8 with 3, 4, 6, 11, 12 with 1-8 with 1, 3, 4, 6, 12. Very similar numbers. That'll cost you $50 for 50 cents.
That's why I had that perplexed look. I just caught that as well when it went by. Are you sure those are the numbers? You didn't just accidentally hit copy paste twice?
Nope. I'm pretty sure. Double checked it.
Mike, let's see. As far as horse racing goes, I think that's it. So let's go over the rails.
No antics of any kind except speed, and there we go with the antics.
I did also see this, Dennis. Thanks for reminding me. I saw the Blood Horse thing and then I got distracted by the quality road. But Dennis's father worked with Hip 52's dam and went for $1.25 million. He was pretty excited. I saw that on Twitter. So good for him. All right. So, Mike, would you rather talk about the weekend that was, or do you want to talk about the game that will be?
Well, a little bit of both. I want to tell you, Bree, we had a meeting about this today. There will be news coming shortly. So there will be tournament news shortly. We're finalizing exactly how we're going to do it because we're going to change the format up a little bit. I think it's going to be pretty exciting. Let's talk about the G-Men, baby. How about that? We've got G-Men over 6.5, Tennessee under 9.5. They face off first week, and they look anemic on offense early, and then just come on back and get that game. That is huge for both the over, the under. And by the way, the Cowboys are a goddamn mess. The Eagles' defense is awful. Washington is not good. I'm excited about our I think 7-8-1 to win the division as well. The G-Men.
Oh my gosh. I showed Celeste after the game, Mrs. Medge after the game ended, because I wasn't watching. We were at a friend's house for the pool party yesterday with the kids, but I showed her the score afterwards, and I was like, so here's why this is a big deal. Not only did Mike and I bet this, at least I don't know if you bet the game. I bet the Giants. I've already got them
in the money line.
Yeah, exactly. I think I had money line on them. So I was like, yeah, I bet that. But not only is that a good thing, but Mike was very, very confident that the Giants would be better than they're supposed to be, and the Titans would be worse. And the Titans were a big favorite, and they literally faced each other in the first game. And this is the result. This is a good omen for the bet that we have going. Just like the Bengals winning their first game last year and Rip 2 going to the Super Bowl.
That worked out well. It was an interesting weekend. The Bengals looked like an absolute mess. That was a wild game. I mean, the witching hour was insane this whole time period. It was absolutely crazy, the results that you saw from the NFL there. Takeaways, look, that Tennessee team is going to be an under team the whole time. Just play them under. That offense is terrible. Derrick Henry did not look very good. Their defense is actually decent. So the scores are going to be low in those games. Trey Lance, I'm worried. I realized that was an absolute monsoon, but man, there were some real bad passes when it wasn't an absolute monsoon.
Didn't I say I don't want to touch Trey Lance this year?
Justin Fields is very good in a very bad situation. Like, I was really impressed with how he played, considering how the attack that he was under. Dallas is in a lot of trouble, The regression that we talked about before the season on the defensive side, because of the lack of turnovers they're going to get compared to last year, is a real problem. And now their offensive line out 2 starters. Plus, on top of that, you have Dak out for the next 8 weeks. They're in a world of hurt. If you get a chance to get New Orleans +3, bet it as soon as possible for week 2. Tampa Bay is going to New Orleans. You can catch 3 at home with New Orleans. Tampa Bay lost another offensive lineman last night. They're now out 3 starting offensive linemen. And New Orleans generally has dominated Tampa from a defensive standpoint as well, giving Brady absolute headaches. So if you can get 3 in that game, go hop on that right now. Not a ton of wild overreactions looking at the lines either. I think the Falcons are better than what I thought. I think they're frisky, especially on offense. And we'll see what's up with this Eagles team. They look really good offensively, but their defense they were gashed by Swift the whole time. So we'll see what happens there. Really exciting first week. Very good first week. Let me tell you, it was a fun week. And it caps tonight with a big game. For me, at least, I need Denver to win outright, and it will be a very, very good week. But yeah, this is going to be interesting. You got Russell Wilson going back to Seattle. The number's been fluctuating between 6.5 and 7 the entire time. I like Denver at the 6.5 number. I don't like them at the 7 number. That's kind of where I would stop playing it. If you want to play a teaser, you can tease Denver down. I like the over a little bit in this spot because I think you're going to see points created. And there's no talent on the defensive side of the ball for Seattle whatsoever. They're going to be forced to throw the ball in the second half. And Geno Smith may make some mistakes. We'll just put it that way. You also have elite receivers on Seattle as well, so they can move the ball a little bit through there. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, very good first week, very fun first week. And let's just get Denver home tonight.
I was looking ahead to next week. I was looking for the New Orleans game, and they took it down so I can't bet on it right now. But Tennessee Titans go on the road for, I'm going to guess that's Monday Night Football. Do you know who they play?
Viking? No, the Vikings play the Eagles.
Correct. Tennessee's going on the road to Buffalo after what Buffalo just did.
Yeah. Yeah, and do you know that the Giants are now favorites in week 2? We could have a 2-0, 6.5 over, and an 0-2, 9.5 under.
like I wish I had the actual stats to tell the people, but teams that start 0-2 historically, effed the entire season. Like it's almost impossible to even get to 500 from that point, let alone make the playoffs. So yeah, I feel pretty good about that bet.
Yeah, pretty solid, especially the two of them facing week one. I mean, that was obviously the key. If you get the win there, it's huge for the both totals, because of the lower one is the one we have over and the higher one's under. So it's great to get that done. Fun fact: if the Denver Broncos win, there will be 2 division leaders who are winless going into week 2. The AFC South has 2 teams that 0-1 and who played each other, and 2 teams that lost. And the NFC West, that world beater NFC West last year, will be 0-4 through the first week. So you have 2 division leaders with 0 wins going into week 2 of the NFL season.
Football.
Football, man.
Real quick, where did it go? There was a comment. Charles B. Magic, did you win your bet with the Commanders? By the hair on my chinny chin chin. These little hairs right here is how much we won that by.
That's the only one I lost. And I had plus 3.5 on Jacksonville. You had minus 2.5. I
was like, let's do 3.
Middling that thing for a second. Because if we get that, if we convert the 2-point conversion, then it's a tie game with 4 minutes left. And then 3 is a very real ending number, right? But once it was 1, you're like, oh, well, shit. Now it's not going to end there.
Yeah, I was monitoring the score. And when it looked like for a while that the math could add up that way, I was like, if we middle this, that's going to we're going to come on the show Monday and just be high-fiving each other. And we're like, we had the different teams betting somehow.
Well, how about Dude Bet Daily? I mean, great result on Sunday. It was a choppy week. And Sunday we go 4-0. Magic, you were 4-0 for the week, carrying it. We had 2 plus bunny bets, plus 145, plus 150 that both came through. One from Aaron, one from me. Papa Dude hits a plus 100 in the baseball side. It was just a great Sunday all around. And Magic, I'd like serious hat tip to the CFL thing. You weren't on the show. You weren't on the show on Sunday. We were talking about it. When I was in Vegas, I would only bet one sport. It was only college basketball, and I only played the WAC. And people are like, what the hell? Why do you only play the WAC? I had more information than almost everybody playing the WAC, and the betting limits weren't that big. So the book didn't care about the lines as much. What you're doing in the CFL, very similar. Be an expert in something no one else gives a shit about, and then bet it, and you can make some money, because that is a line that, look, they want to hang a good line, but they don't go broke if they hang a bad line for any CFL game. They're not taking limit bets of 10, 15, 25, 35, 45, $100,000 on CFL games. And if they are, they're going to figure out who the hell's doing it and why they're betting that much on a CFL game. You can chop those leagues up if you pay attention and you do a good job handicapping. You've done a wonderful job following it, figuring out which conference is better, cross-conference play. It shows.
Thank you. Yeah, and it's funny that thanks for saying that. I said that exact same thing to Celeste about why I was like, I think this is what she's like, why are you so good at it? Because it's not like I'm not spending hours every night poring over this stuff. I used to be when I followed the NFL, I used to be really good at betting the NFL. And it's just a lot of it's football. It's just things are a little different, but nobody's paying attention to it. And that's where I told her, I said, Mike did this in college and when he was in Vegas for a while after college, you find something, you exploit it where nobody's watching, you just make some money. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, I love it. Real quick, non-sports related. Shoddy asking over here, House of Dragon. Yep, House of Dragon, Rings of Power, Rings of Power, House of Dragon. I have not watched Rings of Power. I intended to, but I have not been able to because of everything else that's been going on right now. House of Dragon I have been watching and it's been phenomenal. I was completely out on Game of Thrones after the last season. Did not make me happy after I caught up. I did not watch a single episode through the first 5 seasons. I caught up on 5 seasons before the start of season 6. Watch season 6, okay, I'm still buying into this a little bit. It's not as good as it was earlier, but still buying. And then there's that turd burger that was dropped in season 7, which was a little bit painful. I like some of it. I dislike other parts of it. But this, I think, has been absolutely phenomenal. I'm back in.
I haven't seen either one of them. I will say Mrs. Magic and I both had the same opinion of House of the Dragon. And then she finally broke down and started it. And after the pilot ended, she kind of almost like she was embarrassed, came around the course. She's like, I think they got me. So I told her, I said, when it's done, tell me it's good. And because I'm not getting burned again. So tell me when it's over that it's good. And then I'll go back and watch it.
Well, but the difference here is that George R.R. Martin is involved in the whole product and the source material is complete. That's a big key here, right? The source material was not complete for Song of Ice and Fire. And I think that really made it more difficult to get the ending that you wanted because you had all of this witty dialogue that was pulled directly from the book in the first couple seasons. And so you really got hooked by doing that. And then it kind of the legs got chopped out because George didn't finish the books. And now you have the full complete source material. And what's really cool about this, and I think it's interesting to listen to podcasts around the show too, because that's kind of what I do when I'm watching shows. A lot of this is fabricated from the original book, right? Where it's I think it's 200 pages, covers 30 years versus like thousands of pages covered what the original Game of Thrones was covering. So a lot of this is like 1 or 2 lines is an entire episode, and that they build it out from there. But because George R.R. Martin's been involved in it, and that they've been so intricate in doing this, they've done a phenomenal job so far, 4 episodes in. And I have not read this book, which is good for me too. So I'm like spoiler free going through this. I have no idea who dies, who lives, who ends up where. Like I'm excited because I haven't read the book.
The big comment that I heard from people regarding the other show, Rings of Power, is that it just doesn't go anywhere. But I've heard it's gorgeous. Like you can tell they spent Amazon's money well that way. They just didn't invest it in story. So, bummer.
I was never a big Lord of the Rings person. Like I'd never read the books. I saw the movies, but I wasn't like, this is the God's gift to Earth, you know? Like, so for me, like I was more excited for House of Dragon than I was the Rings of Power, right? It's because I was more invested in I can't even remember, Game of Thrones than I was Lord of the Rings. So I will hopefully get to it at some point, but it's like, it's not even first right now. I still haven't seen Thor. Like, but by the way, have you been watching She-Hulk?
I haven't seen the newest one yet.
Phenomenal. I'm really enjoying my viewing experience right now with She-Hulk.
I'm liking it too. Yeah.
I was not expecting it, but I am enjoying it.
I think because after Moon Knight, my expectations went so low that I'm like, yeah, whatever happens, it's fun. I'm having a good time. Back to horse race real quick. We'll get out of here. Davey says, will Baffert's horses be allowed in the Kentucky Derby with transfer again? They're not going to be allowed as of right now. Still, he's still got another year that he's going to be banned. But he also has shown with Taba, doesn't matter. Win the San Diego Derby, win the Haskell. People still think you've got a great horse, and they're going to spend a lot of money breeding to it later. So, which is kind of what we predicted when none of the owners were really changing. For that one, Shadi says, Mike, stay spoiler free. You're going to be on a wild ride, so have fun with it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know who's going to end up marrying who and having kids and what's going on. I know we're covering 30 years and the 4 seasons they're planning on doing. And my goal is to not know what happens and just kind of let this thing play out. The problem is, I think I remember a couple things about the end of this show from the original Game of Thrones, because they talk about some of these characters' names, and I'm worried I know what happens without actually knowing what happens. I think it was Joffrey that talked about it, which I hated him, so maybe I'm remembering him correctly, but I believe there was a spoiler sitting inside Game of Thrones for this, and I don't know if I'm right or not.
There probably is, but just don't go back. I'm impressed that you would remember that. To me, it's kind of like Lord of the Rings, where it's like there's so many names that are all familiar and they're all incestual cousins to each other. I can't keep it straight.
Aegon the Conqueror one is the one that keeps coming up. I realize that guy is already dead right now in the show, but like that specific name keeps coming up, and he's the one who okay, I am right. He's the one, like Jon Snow's dad or something was also an Aegon, and that's where I think I'm worried about. I might know how this thing plays out.
Okay, so I remember things, and I'm gonna keep my mouth shut. Hey, up here on the screen, we're gonna get out of here. Up here on the screen, this is racingdudes.com. You can check out the reaction to Cave Rock winning. You compare that to Forte winning the hopeful stakes of Saratoga on their closing weekend. Which horse did it better? We're all gonna say Baffert. We know the answer there, but we also have Mike's preview for the Ladies Marathon Stakes, as well as Saratoga Slim's Monday Night Football prop bets. Russell Wilson and Cortland Sutton. He's loving that combination there. So go check out that video. That's over at racingdudes.com. And don't forget, Slim is going to be having a lot more of his NFL picks coming up over at youtube.com/racingdudes. And of course, racingdudes.com. Mike, are you doing anything for Monday Night Football? I know Dudes Who Bet is on later in about an hour today.
Nope, they're coming on. I'll be back on Wednesday. We'll be back with Dudes Who Bet Daily, trying to go for back-to-back winning weeks after we close it out like champs there on Sunday, giving out best bets from all around the sports and horse racing world. Thursday, we'll have the Magic Mike show, and Thursday, halftime reaction. Slim and Samo's halftime Betapalooza will be back on Thursday, so make sure you check that at halftime of the Thursday Night Football game all season long, and then we will be back, I think that's it for me. Then it's just the daily shows after that.
Yeah, it's just the 17 daily shows. Yeah,
just one a day plus all the previews you have me do, making me do freaking Churchill. Thanks a lot, buddy. The one thing I would say is we are going to have a timing change for Dudes Who Bet Daily on Saturday. We were going to go live at 11 Eastern instead of noon, so that we can include the college kickoffs at noon Eastern in that show. So Dudes Who Bet Daily will be at 11 Eastern on Saturday, and it'll be noon Eastern Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Sunday this week.
Make sure to follow us on Twitter. I am at Curtis Kalleward. He is at Somobomb 18, number 1, number 8. Corporate Overlords at racing_dudes. And once again, make sure to check out racenews.com. Slim's got the prop bets for the NFL tonight, and Dudes Who Bet weekly. Dudes Who Bet, the weekly show, will be on in 1 hour here at youtube.com/racingdudes. Until next time, I'm Magic.
And I'm Mike.
It's been a fun one. Take care, everybody. We'll see you next time.
The Magic Mike Show, where you hear the experts speak. The Magic Mike Show. Tune into the show every week. The Magic Mike Show. You can trust the show is the bomb because it's being brought to you by RacingDudes.com.